Robert Turnbull, co-founder, herder of cats, if that is an official title. So president and CEO. COO. He's the CEO.
Zlatko Bogoevski. Everybody calls me Z. I'm the founder and CEO of BetterBot Inc.
Yes. Call him Z.
Okay, fellas. So tell me, why did BetterBot shift from natural language processing to guided conversation?
I mean, it really kind of started in the beginning. You made some tough calls, and when it came to our user interface, not easy decisions. And I don't know that I was wholly supporting of all of them because I thought NLP was really cool. You made a tough decision to move into guided. I mean, so what made you do that in terms of guided conversation and user experience?
Well, I mean, we can't forget about the user experience. And I started asking myself, I mean, what do users want? We know that we are seeing changing user behavior, especially over the last 10 years or so. And I wanted to make sure that we're building a product that users want to use, something that's going to be a little bit easier than what they've used before, something that's going to cut down on the friction that they're used to seeing with other products. So to me, the goal was always to keep the user in mind front and center.
How does BetterBot build a product that is both designed for renters and property managers?
And I can take that a little bit from an industry perspective. Having been building businesses in multifamily for 21 years now, it's hard because you can't serve two masters. You've got your industry client, but you have the consumer if it's a consumer-facing product. And you find you often give one up to service the other. I think with BetterBot, we made sure that we went down the path of servicing the consumer first. And we had some disagreements. Some property management companies wanted us to do A, B, and C. We said, that's not a good consumer experience. That's not bot technology. I will caveat that with, we've had some wonderful suggestions from clients who have been terrific consumer benefits, one of them being integrating Matterport tours and virtual tours and such inside the bot experience. Great consumer experience. That came from an industry executive.
Well, I mean, it has to do with the front end first, obviously, because that's what the users interact with. So for us, the number one concern was, how do we make this easy to use so there's no learning curve? And also, how do we make it very fast? Well, we started noticing that products have the wrong goal in mind. So, for example, they're trying to achieve more time spent on site. We wanted to flip that, and we wanted to see how can we achieve the same result, people getting the information that they need by spending the least amount of time interacting with our technology. Also, another thing I wanted to add as a broader concept, which Robert touched on this already, who are we building the product for? And a lot of companies get confused. If you ask them, what type of a business are you? They will say, we're a B2B business. We were very clear from the beginning that we're a B2B2C business. So we had to make sure that we design for everybody involved with our product. So for example, while the front end of our bot was designed clearly with users in mind, the dashboard, on the other hand, and our reporting was designed with property management companies in mind. So we had to always keep in mind, who are we designing this for? And we had to ask ourselves with every product feature, who are we designing this for?
You know, it's funny. I've had people say, this bot's so simple. And I take that as a huge compliment. Do you know how much work has gone into making it seem that simple? When you can just touch and swipe and touch and swipe, and it seems simple. That's by design. That is exactly why we did. That's why we can get through conversations in 90 seconds, where some people are on websites for 7, 8, 9 minutes at a time. It's by design that it's that simple. It's very Apple-esque and clean in that regard.
BetterBot continues to be very transparent and open with its performance and its data. What metrics do you measure to ensure that BetterBot is delivering a superior user experience?
Well, obviously, there has to be an end result from our product. And in our case, we measure everything from time spent on the bot itself, but we also measure of how many appointments do we manage to schedule. How many people that we greet actually engage the bot? How many of those engage with the bot and ask additional questions? How many of them want to be connected with humans? So we track probably over a dozen metrics to make sure that we're hitting all of those in order to have a superior user experience.
Yeah, honestly, from the very first conversation to the very first lead to the very first appointment and lease, we have been extraordinarily metrics driven. And you can do that. It's really cool because a bot actually shows you where you started, where you went, where you went. In fact, there's so much information, it's almost hard to distill all of the variables and exponential data, but that you can derive from it. What we do know is we're constantly optimizing to provide the best user experience and the best results back to the clients. We actually figured out that when people, for example, go to virtual tours and videos, the next thing they're most likely to do is schedule that appointment. So you got to link that, and you got to make sure there's some intelligence relative to where the consumer has been in the process and where we think they're going. And that's all metrics driven.
And our design philosophy was influenced a lot by what's happening in society. What we're seeing is an increased dependence on technology. So that means people are spending more and more time with technology and not enough time with other people. So we wanted to make sure one thing that was really dear to us was, how do we cut down the time that people spend on technology? How do you make technology more efficient? So we had to look at, what do people use to interface with technology? Obviously, mobile devices. So how do you build the best mobile experience? For us, obviously, that was a bot. So how do you build the most efficient bot? Obviously, for us, that was guided conversation, to where we don't want people taking any additional steps. We want to minimize typing on small screens. We want to make sure the interaction very easy and fast, and want to make sure that ultimately people get the information that they need to get whenever they need to get it from the device of their choice.
I always say that technology is kind of, you're dead on. It's funny because you use technology to solve technology, to have less dependence on technology. But what I equate with all of this is technology has created such an opportunity for consumers to find your properties and communities. That's a good problem in that people can find you everywhere, but that's a problem in that people can find you everywhere. So now they're inundated with all of these leads and all these communications and all these different mediums. They simply can't keep up. They cannot do it. So let's use technology to help solve a problem that technology kind of created in the first place. And that's where the bot automation technology comes into play. Look, this technology, if we're being honest, is still in its infancy stage. This isn't something we're building just to solve a problem for this year. This is something that will be evolving for decades, all this automation technology. So when these new technologies or user experiences come to pass, we will be implementing all of those. There is a play eventually for natural language processing one day, but it's got to get better before we're ready to implement that. We have some ideas around that, which we'll be sharing here in the near future.
So many bots out there require you to enter your contact information and personal data before they even provide you with the answers. BetterBot doesn't seem to lead gate. Why is that?
When we started building BetterBot, we spent a lot of time discussing what people hate. And obviously, they hate wasting time on technology and not getting what they need. Also, they hate giving up their privacy too soon. So we wanted to make sure that we allow people to be anonymous on our bot. We don't welcome you with a name prompt. We don't want to know who you are. We want to give you all the information that you need, and without asking for any personal information whatsoever.
BetterBot has always been straightforward with presenting itself as a bot and not pretending to be a human. Why is that?
When it comes to AI technology, we notice that there are a lot of misconceptions. And immediately people go from reality to sci-fi, and they imagine bots taking over humans. We're not there yet, folks. We don't have bots that are going to take over human jobs just yet. But one thing that really bothers me as a trend, when I see bots trying to masquerade themselves as humans, and they're obviously bots. So one thing that's always been important to us from a product philosophy, let people know that they are working with a bot. Don't try to make a bot as smart as a human, because it never works. And all you're doing is you're deceiving people. People do not like to be deceived. So for us, it was very important
Well, and
from
it's
the
actually
onset.
illegal in
And,
California.
and it's actually
You
illegal in
can't emulate a
California.
human. You have to tell them you're a bot. But it's also interesting too, because you're setting this expectation. If it's a human, you expect human-like responses.
That's correct.
And levels or quality of work. Bots aren't there, so what you're already doing is setting up an expectation of failure. You're setting up a bad user experience. It's just not the same as humans today. So
That's
it's frustrating
correct.
from a consumer perspective.
And we're seeing that in the broader tech space. You see some of the biggest AI providers like Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Microsoft abandoning chatbot projects just because natural language processing simply isn't there. And the more we try to replicate human language, the more we are learning on how complex language really is. So for us, that was very clear that that's not a good goal. But bots, on the other hand, can still automate and get the job done. And they can still augment humans very well. And they can still allow you to have a 24/7 operation. So there's a lot of benefit from bots. But to us, it was very important to be very ethical as well while we're developing bot technology.
The only time, you said a great quote the other day, I have used it twice. The only time people want to be deceived is when they go to a magic show.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they want to know exactly what's going on, and they don't want to feel they've been deceived. So if they feel like they've talked to somebody at a property back and forth and it's portrayed as a human, they find out it's not. That's actually not a great feeling. People just don't inherently like that. Perfectly okay knowing they're working with the technology,
Absolutely.
as long as technology gives them what they want. No problem.
How did BetterBot leverage guided conversations so that the prospect interactions did not feel transactional?
One important thing about human behavior is now we're realizing that humans have only a limited amount of social capital, and they don't want to waste it on transactional conversations. So BetterBot solves a big person. BetterBot solves a big problem, and that is that people don't want to talk to people about simple questions. Like they don't want to call someone, or they don't want to use live chat to find out the price of something. They don't want to talk to a human being on the phone just to find out if something's available. They want that knowledge immediately, and they want to get that in an impersonal manner. So bots actually serve this human behavior or changing human behavior very, very well.
But when you get on a phone call, you gear up and you know it's going to take a little bit of energy.
Yeah.
And I really don't want to do that unless I want to have some kind of empathy conversation for some reason, which quite frankly, a lot of times I don't. So I just want the information without having to engage human, which sounds terrible, but I want to reserve the energy for when it really matters, not finding basic level. I never actually really put that together to this time.
That's the big misconception that humans are no longer social. I beg to differ. I think people still enjoy talking to other people, but they want to be able to derive some value out of that conversation. But whenever it's about transactional stuff, about pricing and availability, they absolutely do not want to talk to a human, but they do want to get that information very quickly, easily from their favorite device.
The clients all seem to be raving about the BetterBot team, and it's been growing pretty rapidly. How do you grow a company but maintain the culture and the values throughout?
Okay, so I think if I understand is how did we find such great talent at BetterBot? I'll be honest, I cheated. I've been in this industry for 22 years, and along the way, it sounds terrible, but I have collected, gathered, befriended people that I know I really enjoy working with, who really understand the industry, who get along great. And then they introduced us to other folks who are very talented. And so I think we just kind of made an early on decision that we were only going to hire people that just work really, really well together. We've had people say, it's like you guys are not even corporate or company. You're kind of like just a bunch of friends that work together. And actually, the more I thought about that, I thought that's actually right. We get along really, really well. We don't always agree, but there's a mutual respect. And I think you attract that, and you attract great talent and great personalities. And it kind of starts when Z and I first met, we became friends very quickly. And I think we always say we're two sides of the same coin. And so there was just a mutual respect. I think it carries through to the rest of the team and the rest of the company.
And it's always been about allowing people to develop themselves in a direction that they would want to develop themselves already before they even met us. So for us, we looked at people that brought experience, but had the flexible beginner's mindset to be able to solve new problems. So we always valued creativity. We allowed people to experiment and test. And we've never been too rigid in our thinking. And I think that's attracted superior talent, because ultimately people want to show that they can do more than they've done before. And that's extremely important for everyone at BetterBot.
I got to tell you, I have resented over the years being at times try to put me in a box. Well, you do this and that's all you do. That kills the human spirit. So I think even though we have different roles and responsibilities, we always try to get everyone to, and it may sound cliche, but it's true. Think outside that box. What can you do? Pull from other industries. What can you contribute from other learnings into BetterBot and make it better?
BetterBot's mission and vision are centered around the concept of time. Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
Time. How do we give people that we serve their time back? How do we give consumers their time back? Leasing teams, executives at management companies, we want to give them their time back on both sides of the equation. So we're constantly trying to figure out how to solve that. And if we can give 80%, has always been our benchmark, 80% of the repetitive stuff back in time, then that's a win. That's a win for the consumer. That's a win for our clients. So for us, it's really comes down to the time.
Absolutely. We're trying to give people their time back. And we are going to continue to innovate. We've been very innovative since day one. We try not to copy the competition. We try to stay one step ahead of the competition by looking at the market, looking at the data from users, and making sure that we talk to our clients, property management companies. We get a lot of feedback from our industry advisory board, and we have collected some of the smartest people in the entire industry to advise us. So as of right now, we're super excited about our roadmap and everything that's going to happen in 2022, because the more technology that we put out in the market, the better the feedback was. So now we are really, really excited about building an even better product and company in 2022
and beyond. It's not about bots. We're actually not selling bots. And I think once we get past that, we really understand what the value is. And people have been trying to figure this out. It's actually quite simple. We're not selling bots, we're selling time. It is the one commodity, as you have said multiple times, you can't get back. You will never get that back. And so if we can optimize people's time, give them the time back, then we've won. And that is really what we're trying to sell back to consumers and sell back to clients in our industry.
Time is a finite resource, and it's very often wasted on menial, repetitive tasks. We actually took the time to shadow leasing agents as to see what they do every single day, and gained a new appreciation for the difficulty of their job. And a lot of times people can be critical of leasing agents because they don't understand what they're faced with every single day. They're supposed to, I don't think they can get their job done even if they work 24 hours per day. But what we found out that a lot of the tasks that they do are repetitive, and they can be handled by technology to where
it's soul killing. Some of that when
it's soul killing. So we are asking people to consistently find a needle in a haystack every single day. And
please, and funny enough, I think we've turned some of our humans into bots, because all they're doing is sitting there doing this all day long. Repeat process, come in the next day, repeat process. Nobody wins on that. Nobody does. And if you're an executive at a management company, you're not winning because your people aren't happy. So you got to make them happy and give them some of their time back.
So for us, a big part of the challenge has been telling people that you have to change the way you run your operation. You have to augment people with technology, and refocus people on connecting with other people. Leasing agents are much happier when they get to give on-site tours, help out their residents, and they would much rather do that than having to go through their CRM and spend 8 hours responding to leads.
Hey, thanks for watching. To learn more about BetterBot, head to betterbot.com.
Wait, is this thing live? Hello? Are we-
Rolling now. I think we're rolling. I had to move that.
He's rolling.
Yes.
I thought I was the guy whose voice always carried. He's more than mine. What else did you want to talk about? You had something else you wanted to hit?
I did.
Did you get that motor check out?
I did.
What about that rash?
It's yeah, it's contagious. Yeah.
Oh.
So,
Cover up the microphone.
so
Okay.
There you go. All right, let's roll.
Sorry, I can't. I'm just tell smart ass what I gotta do.